I'm First Alert KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Hello and welcome to Friday afternoon, wrapping up another extremely busy week here on Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Tony Colombo, and we've got all of the issues of the week to recap you on and update you on, as well as some new stories of the day, including Eric Swalwell. I don't know how Eric Swalwell still has a job. I don't know how some of these people are still in politics and still, like, thriving. But I'll tell you about that in a minute. Ron DeSantis making some news with the quote, "This is not Minneapolis." Basically a warning to protesters down in that state that things are going to be different, according to him, for anybody that is protesting ICE in Florida. And not protesting ICE, but, attacking ICE, committing crimes like they have in Minneapolis. Apparently some of that has started up down in Florida, and Ron DeSantis and the leaders down there have issued a stern warning. We'll fill you in on that. I know Jamie talked about the therapy goats in Minneapolis earlier. This kind of shows you the track that they're on. We'll talk about that as well. We'll get you the latest on Greenland. Got some more news, at least in my opinion, that signals that we could be heading towards another government shutdown, or at least another intense debate about a government shutdown at the end of this month, and so much more as we go through this afternoon. And we'll, of course, wrap things up as we always do on Fridays with a little Friday fun time, especially after a jam-packed week like this. We always like to lighten the mood, have a little fun at the end of the day on Fridays. So we will do that, around 3:30 this afternoon. In the 3 o'clock hour, we'll also talk to the former mayor of Ferguson, current city manager up in Troy. Mayor James Knowles will be with us. Always great to talk to the mayor. I feel like I learned something new about local news and politics every time I talk to James Knowles. So we'll touch on some local issues and get his thoughts on some of these national issues as well in the 3 o'clock hour. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, about 3:15 this afternoon, we will get you the weekend forecast from Channel 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornette. So that's always important, and looking forward to that. But right now, starting off the show, and joining me for most of this first hour, the 2 o'clock hour here on Colombo and Company, as he does every week, is, of course, the executive producer and co-host of the Vic Porcelli Show, the great Ken Williams. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, it's great to see you, Tony. And I don't know what you're talking about news. This slow week, man.
Did you guys get that move to that third hour just like at the perfect time? Because even 3 hours a day isn't enough.
Oh, I know.
To get to everything. I mean, that's how crazy it has been.
I gather material pretty much after we leave the studio at noon. Then I'll go in and I'll just start reading and getting articles. And, okay, well, we got some good stuff. I think we're ready to go. Oh, now we have new articles. By the time it's almost midnight, I'm looking at new stuff thinking, what are we going to do? We've only got 3 hours.
Yeah. I will, I'll get off the air, wrap up the day. It'll be 6, 7 o'clock. I'll be getting ready to leave the station, and I'll take one last look at the headlines. And sometimes, I'll grab a couple of interesting breaking news or news stories that I think are going to be good to talk about on the next day's show. And 9 times out of 10, whatever the really interesting, important news that I am taking notes on at 7 p.m., by 2 p.m. the next day,
it's old news.
It's
crazy.
old news. Yeah,
It really
old
is,
news.
man.
Yeah, that's how quick things happen. But nobody does a better job of keeping up with all of it than the team here at News Talk STL. So we've got you covered.
Yeah,
Trust me, when it comes to
we'll
all
keep
the
you
important
updated
news
for
and
sure.
info. Yeah, both local and national and international. And also sometimes, we just get a little bit petty and personal, and that's what I'm about to do here. And he's in the news, so he's making news, so it's fair game. Eric Swalwell campaign in the hot seat after accepting almost $15,000 from CCP-tied law firm. Representative Eric Swalwell's gubernatorial campaign. Can you imagine? I mean, from Gavin Newsom to Eric Swalwell, California.
Deep bench.
Jeez.
Deep bench.
Deep bench, and what an embarrassment. But
total.
That's California. Representative Eric Swalwell's gubernatorial campaign recently received almost $10,000 from the California-based office of a top Beijing law firm that has deep ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This all according to a Fox News digital investigation and report that was just published today. A filing that was released this week reveals that Swalwell's campaign received $9,999. I'm sure there's some tax reason for that from the Deheng Law Office's PC on December 30th, and said that the office is based in Pleasanton, California. The law firm's website reveals that this office is their, quote, Silicon Valley office, and appears to only have one lawyer who works there. Wow,
kind of like the child care facilities in Minneapolis.
Kellyanne Zhu, whose nickname is nicknamed Clay. His daddy called him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay. Who donated $5,000 to Swalwell's gubernatorial campaign this past November, and previously donated over $10,000 to his House campaigns, is a partner at the law firm and is the only name listed for the, quote, Silicon Valley office, according to their website. So the headline says almost $15,000, but if I'm doing my math right here, it's actually more like $25,000 because it's $9,999, $10,000 from the law firm itself, and then the lawyer that works there made one donation of $5,000 and another donation of over $10,000. So if you add it all up, unless I'm mistaken,
it's government math.
Yeah, exactly. The review revealed that the law firm was founded as the China Law Office, which was a subsidiary firm established by the CCP's Ministry of Justice in the early 90s before being renamed to the Deheng Law Offices in 1995, while the firm, which has over 24 offices in China, portrays themselves as independent. The firm, its lawyers continue to have long-standing cooperation and connection with the Chinese government.
Tony, before you go on.
Man, that's it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to guess here. I'm going to throw this out here.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Swalwell had no idea they were with the CCP, right?
He didn't even respond to this.
Oh,
so
okay.
We don't know what...
I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't know what he thinks yet. But there's a couple things here, Ken. One, Eric Swalwell.
First of all, out of the gate.
Why? Yeah, just right there. Two, accepting money from a law firm tied to the Chinese government with his past.
Oh my goodness,
Fang
of
living.
Come
with
on,
the,
dude.
Yeah, of doing the
deed
of doing the dang with Fang.
Fang.
I mean, like, how is this guy How is this guy continuing to thrive in his political career? How do people like Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff, how are these roaches still successful politicians?
I'm still amazed the fact that Eric Swalwell had a position after they found out he was with a Chinese spy.
The Chinese spy and the cheating on his wife that goes along with that.
Right.
Some of the other ridiculous things he has said and been a part of throughout his career. Now this, accepting money from the Chinese government. I mean, you would think that the people of even the Democrats in California, because this isn't like an anti-Trump thing.
No.
He's running for governor against, I'm sure, other Democrats. You would just think that the people of California wouldn't put up with this.
Yeah.
But they do.
Yeah.
They reward him and Adam Schiff and Gavin Newsom and Maxine Waters and others.
And then they cry about, some of the results of their voting. I mean, look at New York. New York is there are already blocks of people in New York that are regretting what they did. And it's like, well, too bad now. You got 4 years here. Unless somebody can impeach this guy, he's there, and that's what's going to happen. Same thing in California. Tony, they would do better by getting a common sense individual, even if it was if you found some way to have a guy who's in the middle somewhere. It would be so much better than how far they've gone left and how corrupt it's become.
How long does it take until, because like you said, there's already backlash coming out of New York, and it's been 2 weeks.
Right.
How long does it take before that type of common sense sets in for people in California?
For Democrats?
Ever?
For Democrats?
No, for the Democratic voters in California. Like, some of the voters in New York are starting to realize, whoops, this is bad. We made a mistake, and it's only been 2 weeks. Why is that? Why does that not dawn on the people of California like it has the citizens of New York?
If you look at social media, you've got a lot of people that are conservative, that are living in California, and they're just so distressed about everything. But with the way they've set up their voting system, it's automatic voter fraud. I mean, they require you to not have an ID. This is one of 2 states. No, it's no kidding.
Right.
They say, no, you cannot present an ID to vote. If you do, there are problems.
They're going to start banning citizens from voting.
Yeah.
If you're a citizen, you are not
cannot vote.
You're not
you're American?
Yeah.
No. You speak English?
This
no,
is not
you
your,
cannot
yeah,
vote.
This election is not for you. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's true though, dude.
I'm glad you brought up Mondani. I actually didn't go through all the details of this story, but I have the headline here. We've talked about many times in the past these politicians or Hollywood stars, celebrities, whatever it may be, when you try to be the hero on the left, eventually it will catch up with you because you simply cannot keep everyone happy all the time. As soon as you appear to, as soon as you kind of draw the line and you're like, okay, I can't go any further left. They will turn on you instantly.
Yeah.
It never ends well. It never ends well. There's people like, what is it, Emma Watson? Is she the one who played Hermione? Emma Watson, right?
Yep.
Yeah. She was the big, she was the one who was against J.K. Rowling and LGBTQ, trans rights activists they've turned on, she was their hero, and now they've turned on her. I mean, that's just one of many examples of what I'm talking about. And you just mentioned Zoran Mondani. That's already happened to him. The New York Times yesterday had a headline, quote, "None of Mondani's deputy mayors are black. It has become a problem." So one of the most progressive elective officials in the history of the country, because of how far out there he is, you can't you just can't keep everybody happy. He's 2 weeks in. New York Times is already calling him out for not being diverse or progressive enough. Who could have seen that coming? He's not progressive or diverse enough for some people in New York.
And he's one of the so-called leaders of the party now. I mean, he really is. I said this to you last week, and I'm not kidding. I mean, the man is I don't know how he did it. He became mayor of the biggest city in the country, and he is also the leader of the Democrat Party.
But that could be falling apart now.
It could be. But see, the thing about Democrat, if you look at the psychology of the left and the Democrat Party, let's examine that for a second, because that's what they require. I mean, like for example, someone said, I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, well, you need to be more apologetic sometimes to the conservatives. And we're like, whoa, no, because when we are, all they do, if they've got their foot, if they've got if they got you on the ground, they'll put their foot on your neck if you apologize. And then they want more and more and more. It just never ends. And that's with their opposition. Same thing, like you just noted here, that they do in their own party. Joe Biden, look what he had to do. Look what Kamala Harris had to do. All of them, they were like, well, we seem like we're pretty far left. And they're like, no, you're not even close.
Yeah. How many times did AOC call out Joe Biden even when he was president? Because he didn't go far enough for her. And you're exactly right. It's one of the things that we've said a million times over the years, and it's something that Republicans have fallen for time after time. They have, on many, many issues over the years, tried to give a little, negotiate on whatever issue, and say, okay, we're going to give you what you want on this issue. That way we can just put it behind us and move on to the next thing. But as soon as that deal is made, they start asking for more. And it never ends the conversation. It just keeps moving forward, and Republicans have fallen for it over and over again. That's their manifesto. Real quick, I wanted to use this example. If I had a piece of paper with 10 political issues on it, and you and I agreed, we're on the same side of 7 or 8 of those, I would say that you and I are on the same page.
Pretty much,
we're probably in the same, that we're on the same political wavelength if
right.
we agree 70-80% of the time.
I agree with that, yeah.
In the new Democratic Party, if it's not 10 out of 10, you're out.
Yeah,
disagreeing on just 1 out of 10 is just as bad as not agreeing on any of them.
I think there's a book called Nudge that it's like one of the Bibles of the left. Can't remember who wrote it, but it means you go an inch forward and you do not lose any ground. Go an inch forward more. You do not go back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the left's proposal to what they do about everything. If you're going to compromise with conservatives, you grab that inch and you do not get it back, or you do not give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way you nudge forward. And it's a new way of thinking.
It is.
By the left and the Democrat Party, and it's no way of winning. It's no way of negotiating.
And they've gotten away with it. They've gotten away with it for years, decades.
Yeah.
With that mentality, it's worked well. Republicans have fallen for it over and over again. That's Ken Williams for the Vic Borselli Show. He is sticking around. I want to talk about the latest in Minnesota, and also on the other side of that coin, what's happening down in Florida. There was some protests down there with some violence directed at ICE agents, and Ron DeSantis and the leaders of Florida have had a very different reaction than what we saw from Tim Walz and the leaders in Minneapolis. So we'll fill you in on all of that and more with Ken Williams here on Colombo and Company.
It's Friday!
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
You guys heard the guys from Bluff City Outdoors here in studio with me yesterday afternoon. If you didn't hear it and you missed that conversation, go back and check it out on the podcast. Of course, Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois, open 7 days a week, and the best place in the St. Louis area to go for all of your fishing needs, all of your bow hunting needs, all of your trapping needs, and more. And of course, also, don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoors show right here on News Talk STL every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Myself, local professional fisherman Mike Marfell, and the owner of Bluff City Outdoors, Mark McMurray, are with you to talk about all of those things: bow hunting, fishing, trapping, everything happening in the outdoor community around St. Louis. We've got it covered. It's a fun conversation, usually political free, unless politics blend in to or start to impact the outdoor community, which there's actually we have a guest on this week that seems to be happening in our local area with the way that the issue of deer encroachment has been growing in our area over the last couple of months. There's been some conflict within some local governments. We talk about it this weekend. But again, if you are looking for all the best products and services when it comes to fishing, bow hunting, trapping, or anything happening outside, Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's, open 7 days a week, is the place to go. Follow them on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. Continuing the conversation with Ken Williams, co-host and executive producer of the Vic Porcelli Show. Of course, 9 a.m. to noon every weekday here on News Talk STL. And what has been happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis seemed to have started up in Florida over the last 24 hours. But as I mentioned a moment ago, the reaction from Florida leaders is a lot different than what we have seen in Minnesota. An anti-U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agitator in Florida was arrested after allegedly punching a trooper in the face during an immigration enforcement operation. Quote, "This is Jennifer Cruz of Jacksonville," said Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer. He showed an image of the woman who appeared to smile as law enforcement restrained her moments before she cracked a grin. Video shows Cruz kicking toward a female officer while other law enforcement members had already placed her hands behind her back. Back to James Uthmeyer, quote, "Jennifer disagrees with immigration enforcement and decided to commit a few felonies by getting out of her car and punching a trooper in the face. But unlike Minnesota, we don't put up with this nonsense. Not today, Jennifer," Uthmeyer said in his statement. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis shared Uthmeyer's post and wrote, quote, really bad decision to attack one of our troopers. This isn't Minneapolis. DeSantis also mentioned the incident in an unrelated press conference last night, saying, quote, I do know that there was a woman who came out and assaulted one of our troopers. Let me tell you guys, this is not Minneapolis. This is not going to end well for you in Florida. And Florida Representative Anna Paulina posted on social media about the situation, saying, quote, never go full Jennifer. It's a lot different than the DeSantis is a governor. Tim Walz is a governor. The two responses could not be further apart.
Tony, okay, when you have a police chief in Portland crying, when you have a sheriff in Philadelphia cussing out the police department, the ICE agents, when you have a mayor that is not allowing the police department to work with the federal agents in Minneapolis, this is what happens. These are the problems. This problem in Minneapolis could be solved in a heartbeat. You know how? By having the police officers within that city help out the ICE agents. Let them in the jails. Tom Homan said, look, if you just let us in the jails and let us take these people out, the ones that are duly supposed to leave this country, we wouldn't have to go into the neighborhoods. We wouldn't have to go into their homes. But we have to now because of what you've done. It's the fault of the sanctuary cities and states that those federal officers go into, and it's their fault only.
Yeah.
That's everything. This quote unquote protest that's happening right now, it's bull.
Yeah, they're the ones that have motivated and given. They're the ones that have basically told people it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to attack police officers. That puts people, obviously, like Renee Good, in a very tragic position because they think that they have the cover from their leaders to take these actions, and it leads to tragic situations for protesters, for law enforcement, for the country. And they love it. The leaders on the left, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Jacob Fry, they love it. They want this chaos.
Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, and Keith Ellison, they love it because it's deflection from what's really going to have to happen.
That too.
That mainly. But Tony, I mean, you can't. When you have a person, okay, tragically, you said tragically, it happened where Renee Good was killed. Okay.
Anytime somebody dies, it's
sure
tragic.
It is tragic, but she's a nut. She was a nut. And what happens is you've got these people who are just unstable. And when they hear leaders like that, top leaders, we're not talking about, local, like hyper local.
We're talking about governors,
mayors.
And
We're talking
mayors
about governors
and
of
Congress
states,
people. Yep.
Okay, and U.S. senators. Even.
Yep.
Talking about this stuff, that is inciting violence.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It just is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is. And it's. I truly believe it's what they want. And I like that Ron DeSantis and the leaders down in Florida are getting out in front of it and saying, look, it's not going to be like Minneapolis down here. If you assault a police officer or a federal agent, any type of law enforcement, you're gonna be held accountable. Nobody's gonna have your back.
I got proof of what I was just saying. Well, we were just talking about, Tony. Go down to Tennessee, go down to Mississippi where they had these same things happen. Go down to Florida. Any city or state that is willing to work with the federal agents locally and help them, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
They got all the people that they want. The bad people they've gotten them out, and they went on their way. See, but they want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
The sanctuary cities want to fight, and the states,
and they want to defend criminals. They want to stand up for people that are hurting other people in their own community. I did a story yesterday about all that listed out some of the Minnesotans that have been killed or brutally assaulted by illegal immigrants over the last couple years of Tim Walz, leadership there in that state. Ilhan Omar, since this crew has been in charge up there, and there's been no outcry. there's vigils, and Tim Walz is posting, Renee Good and her picture and rest in peace, and acknowledging everything about her. And like I said, I believe that every death is tragic, but the other minute, the people that have been killed in that state by illegal immigrants, they didn't get any vigils. They didn't get remembered by the mayor. They didn't get, in fact, there was one example that we listed yesterday where the illegal alien that killed somebody in Minnesota was released 3 different times.
Yeah.
By the Minnesota
I remember
Police
I heard
Department, even after ICE knew that this person was being detained, and ICE sent the sheriff's department a detainer, said, don't let this person go. They did it 3 times.
And they
had to arrest him 3 times because this person kept committing crimes, so he kept getting arrested.
He killed twice.
That's crazy.
And then ICE had to actually take him away from them.
Finally, ICE is the one who caught him.
Yeah, and said, okay, we're not giving him away.
ICE finally caught him in that instance. But the hypocrisy is just
weird situation in this country right now. You've got millions of – we voted. The majority of this country, it was an 80-20 issue. It was an 80-20 issue in this country to get rid of the illegal aliens. I would argue that there were 20 million plus. Okay, now that –
I would argue that it's a 95-5 issue also.
Okay.
But yeah, 80, you're right. It is.
But let's give it that. And then – so President Trump's elected. He brings in all he's doing is law enforcement. He's doing what he said he was going to do, Tony. That's nothing more. Tim Walz called ICE agents murderers. When you have nuts
so did Jake
on
Fry.
the left, Jake Fry, yes, he did. And when you have nuts on the left like that, they're saying, wait a minute. Well, what did you say? You're the leader. You're the top person in my state, and you're saying that these guys are murderers. Well, I guess if they're murderers, then I can murder them. I mean, it's simple. I'm oversimplifying.
Yeah.
It's oversimplification, but Tony, it's true.
I can't believe if you just woke up from a 20-year coma, that old situation, that if you could remove yourself from all of the stuff that built up over the last several years to get us to this point, that if you just were suddenly looking at a situation where all of this debate and unrest and protest is about a president protecting our borders? Like, really? Like, how did this get so? How is the idea of, you shouldn't be allowed to come here illegally? How is that very simple proposition built up into what it is today?
Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
TDS, man.
You're exactly right.
There are finally psychotherapists coming out now saying, it is a diagnosable disease.
I keep telling Tobler to go. I keep telling Tobler to be like the first person to write a paper on it.
Somebody already. Vic and I talked about him. I can't remember his name offhand, but
good.
Psychotherapist. It
needs to be in the book.
Well, here's what he said. He said, what's interesting is I was not even intending to do this. He had an idea. I wasn't going to write this paper at all. This book actually. And what happened was 78% of his clientele. He was realizing that it may take even a week, a month, 2 months. But at some point, every one of those 78% of the people that his clients would reveal that their anxiety, their sleep deprivation, everything else was based around Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Something with him.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, there's been politicians over the years that I just can't stand to even look at them. Like, their face just makes me angry because they're so corrupt or so evil, in my opinion. But I can still sleep at night. I don't obsess. Like, I don't carry my disgust for them into, my family dinner.
No.
Or our vacation. Or
I don't take it to my car.
Yeah.
Unless I'm listening to it while I'm driving. But
right. To have your whole life just obsessed and wrapped into a political figure is just wild to me.
I think Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, AOC, Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries. I think they're a joke. I think they are actually dangerous to this country.
Agreed.
However,
Yeah.
I leave it here
Yeah.
or wherever I'm sitting.
Yeah.
I don't let it.
Yeah.
I don't leave. I don't take it with me.
Yeah. I can take my, I can take my kids to Target without having to talk about it.
Yeah.
I can have dinner with my family without having to talk about it.
I've been sleeping pretty good lately.
Yeah. Speaking of Minnesota, to further highlight the differences between Florida and Minneapolis and Minnesota. I know Jamie talked about this earlier, but I think it's hilarious. Minneapolis offers therapy goats to staff amid ICE raid tensions. City Attorney Kristen Anderson sent an email late yesterday promoting an optional noon gathering in the public service building facilitated by HR for connection amid unrest. Therapy goats, a past wellness feature from July 2025, waited in a nearby room with no obligation to engage. The invite followed the shooting of Renee Good during an ICE arrest attempt, sparking clashes, and the city attorney said, for any city employees that are really struggling with this, come play with the goats and you'll feel better.
I just when you said
How
goats to me,
how is this real? How am I awake? Like, seriously, are you real? Is this reality? What is happening?
that's right in line with bringing social workers instead of police to a problem, like to someone who's breaking the law. We're not bringing police there. We're going to bring a social worker to go over talk to them. That's kind of the same thing. When you said to me initially, though, about goats and
therapy
what's happening up in Minneapolis, I just said there are so many different things there that I could say, but I can't.
Yeah,
I cannot.
But
can't
that's
do it,
their
Tony.
that's their. They're trying to make you. They want to make sure that you feel better.
Well,
So they brought in. And I'm sure the taxpayers are paying for those goats, too.
oh yeah,
By the way.
yeah, for sure.
We should all demand that Joe and Jeff
Goats.
bring therapy goats in.
My next door neighbor.
Like, hey, look,
no,
the things that we have to talk about on the air.
yeah,
Like it's been real heavy lately.
yeah.
Like if you want us to continue to have to, expose ourselves to all of these terrible stories that are happening in the world, you need to provide us some sort of therapy release for mental health purposes.
Goat yoga, baby.
Yes.
I say, and I'm not kidding.
I'll write it. I'll write the petition and I'll pass it around to everybody.
Our next door neighbor, we're our best friends. Their kids have goats on a farm.
Hey.
And they brought them over last New Year's
Sure.
Eve, okay? And we laid it in the living room, and goats will walk up on your back, and it's so relaxing.
I'm sure it's a blast.
It's wonderful.
I'm sure it's a blast.
Very relief.
But it should should it be a taxpayer funded
No,
therapy session for state workers?
no.
No. Absolutely not.
Scare them, though. It's funny.
One last piece of information from Minnesota. The highest ranking Republican in that state is also one of the highest ranking Republicans overall in the House. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. He has officially, and I don't know why this has taken so long, but I mean, this is kind of has finally officially come out and officially called for Tim Walz to resign effective immediately from his position. I'm sure that's not going to happen, but
I don't know, man.
it's-
I don't
now
know
it's
what's
out
going to happen with him because they are throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, federally at this man. And they're bringing in, first of all, you don't piss off Scott Bessent
yeah.
because he did.
I hope you're
took
right.
He took all the security away from Scott Bessent when he went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And Scott Bessent's like, you're a coward.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Scott Bessent, he has control of a lot of that stuff. He's going to bring every person he can to audit that state.
I hope you're right. But the Bidens
Yeah,
are still
I know where you're going.
walking around. The
Yep.
Clintons are still walking around. James Comey is still walking around.
So frustrating, man.
Fauci's still walking around. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
I hope Tim Walz or somebody is
Somebody.
held to account for all of this.
What about Clinton's?
But
Let's go that way for a second. They should be in
Biden's.
chains. They should be perp walked just like Bannon, just like Navarro.
The list is long. Clinton's, Biden's, Pelosi's, Tim Walz. I mean, there's so many of them. But so I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Got a few minutes left here with Ken. Let's do this. President Donald Trump said today that he would consider imposing penalties on countries that defy his plans for the United States to acquire Greenland. Quote, I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security, Trump said during an event at the White House today. Of course, this has become, Ken, a renewed focus for the president here in recent weeks. It's caused some, I think, ridiculous response from some other countries in the world that have sent like troops there.
Yeah,
which is it's absolutely dumb.
Photo op stuff.
We know that some officials from Greenland and Denmark were both at the White House this week meeting with J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, and obviously this has been a priority for the president here recently. What do you think about the whole Greenland situation?
Yeah, I know President Trump has his way of doing this stuff that people don't like. It's very brash. The fact is, Russia and China, they're making moves. They're going to make a move to that area. And if Denmark doesn't work with us and they work with Russia, say, for example, or if they work with China taking over that area, that's going to be a real problem for NATO.
Mm-hmm.
And so President Trump is saying, look, I'm going to have you avoid all these problems in the future. Work with us. We want to control what's happening over in Greenland. It's the closest to us. We've been wanting to do it since the 1800s. Let's do it now. And we will compensate you dearly. Greenland people, 78,000 people, you will benefit bigly for this.
Bigly.
Right?
Bigly, yes.
So yes, his way of doing it is not the best way, but at the same time, he makes if you read about it, he makes total sense on this.
Well, there's no doubt about how strategically advantageous it is to have that territory and to be able to have a military presence there, which we do have military base there.
Yeah.
But, to expand that, and I mean, it would be massively important for the safety of this country and I think for the peace of the world going forward. Do you think so? Yeah, I agree. I think his plan from the standpoint of the United States makes a whole lot of sense. But do you think he ultimately gets what he wants? Do you think that we get there? Do you think that this is part of the art of the deal? Like try to start with we're going to buy Greenland and then just settle for an agreement to have the military presence there and all of that. How do you have a gut feeling on how this might play out?
I think honestly, I think you just nailed it.
Yeah.
He does that. He's done it so many different times where ultimately it will be what he really kind of wanted. I don't think we'll ever own it. I don't think that's realistic. But you know what? I would never put it past him.
You don't think Greenland will be the 51st state?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe it'll be the 52nd state after Canada.
Maybe.
After Canada.
Oh, but okay,
maybe
that's
Canada will be
realistic to me.
51, and Greenland will be 52.
Do you know how they're losing? How bad they're losing in Canada right now? I wouldn't doubt it. They are so in debt because of what they're doing, what they tried to do with the United States. That'd be more of a realistic decision, I think, than Greenland.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if in some reality that Greenland or Canada becomes the 51st state and not Washington, D.C. after the Democrats have tried so hard? If they're
right. That'd be great. I'd love
Canada's
it.
51, Greenland's 52, and they're still jumping up and down about D.C.
But what about D.C.?
But
No,
what about D.C.?
Sorry.
Yeah, great stuff. Ken Williams, the executive producer and co-host of the Vic Porcelli Show every weekday, 9 a.m. to noon here on News Talk STL. Great to talk with you as always, my friend. Great stuff. And, we talked for almost an hour, and there's still so much
going
going on.
And it's always a pleasure to come in here and talk to you.
Yeah, we'll keep up with all of it as we continue through the rest of the afternoon. But have a great weekend, my friend.
Yeah, you
Thanks
have a
for your
good
time.
weekend. Ashley, have a good weekend.
I actually have a little bit of little bit more information about the Greenland situation. There was a poll done asking Americans what they think of that situation. I don't know if I believe it, but I'll tell you about it in just a minute. Also, new news out regarding the possibility of another government shutdown later this month. I'll fill you in on those details as well as we continue next here on Colombo Company.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Governor Kehoe is focused on eliminating income tax for Missourians. We'll ask Congressman Bob Onder if Missouri voters will approve it at 420.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on Newstalk STL.
Intervine and Intervine.com, of course, the local family-owned business that makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps available on the market. And you can not only get all of those great products, but you can get an incredible discount on them just by using my name, Tony, Tony, as your promo code at Intervine.com, and you'll get 25% off everything, unlimited, there on the website. All the great products. We talk about the outdoorsman. If you are an outdoorsman or have one in your life that needs the tactical flashlights or the heavy-duty lanterns, they've got you covered all the way down to smaller, more reliable headlamps and flashlights that can go in a drawer of your home or the glove box of your vehicle. We have Intervine products everywhere, in the garage, in the basement, in the cars. I mean, just everywhere, because there's a flashlight, a lantern, a headlamp for every situation that they offer there at Intervine. And they also have batteries in all different sizes. So if you just need to stock up on AA or AAA batteries with all the electronics in the house or toys maybe after Christmas, you can do that at Intervine.com. Also, all again for 25% off just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. Intervine is INTERVINE. Intervine.com. Use my name, Tony, for 25% off. Again, Intervine.com.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to OverstockOutletSTL.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Steve Templeton's Weekend Forecast, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Ken Williams from the Vic Porcelli Show for joining us in those first two segments. Actually went really long there with Ken. Usually, right about this time, we get the weekend forecast from the team over at Channel 4. We are going to get that weekend forecast, but it's going to be in about 20 minutes from now, about 3:15. Kristen Cornette, meteorologist from Channel 4, is going to call us and give us the weekend forecast. Always very important, especially this time of year, because unless you've been watching very closely, and I honestly haven't been here these last couple days, you could tell me it's going to be 70 degrees on Saturday or Sunday, or you could tell me it's going to be negative 10. And I would believe either one of those statements at this point. So I'm looking forward to getting the truth from Kristen and knowing what to plan for the weekend. So definitely keep it here for that. Also, a quick reminder, if you missed any of that conversation with Ken, or you just want to make sure that you never miss anything that happens here on the show, make sure you're subscribed to our podcast, because we put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day, and we put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you like to get podcasts on that platform, just make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss anything that happens here on the show. You can also go and check out our live streams, or even after the fact, and watch the show on Rumble or Twitter or X, all of our News Talk STL social media platforms. All right, we're going to be joined by James Knowles, the former mayor of Ferguson, current city manager up in Troy, Missouri, in the 3 o'clock hour, as well as that conversation and weekend forecast from Kristen Cornette. We're going to get back into some of the national news, but also get an update on some local stories when we talk to Mayor Knowles. So very much looking forward to that. We're just talking about the Greenland situation with Ken Williams. And if you missed that, so Donald Trump said today that he would consider putting tariffs on countries around the world if they don't go along with his plan to acquire Greenland for national security for the United States. And that, interestingly, ties into one of the issues that we've been monitoring for the last several weeks. It feels like maybe last several months, with Susie Moore, who is with us, of course, every Tuesday, the co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, our legal expert here on the show, because we are waiting for the ruling from the Supreme Court on the powers that Trump has with those tariffs. So that could play a role in this issue as well. His remarks also have drawn concern from Denmark and other NATO allies, prompting troops, which is, I mentioned a moment ago, and again, Ken and I mentioned is ridiculous, from several European countries, including France, Germany, Sweden, and Norway, to deploy to Greenland for security measures. And recent polling suggests that the idea has yet to gain broad support among American voters, with 86% of voters nationwide saying they would oppose military action to take over Greenland, according to a Quinnipiac University poll, which is a little bit of dishonest way of asking that question. It doesn't really honestly show the support for acquiring Greenland when you say military action. Yeah, I don't think anybody thinks that there should be military action to take over Greenland. So it doesn't surprise me that 86% of voters said that they would not support that. The survey also found that voters opposed any U.S. effort to buy Greenland by a 55% to 37% margin, which, 55% sounds a lot more realistic than that 86% stat, which is, of course, the headline of this story if you see it anywhere else, but a little bit misleading there if you ask me. All right, we are going to continue the conversation. As I mentioned, the Democrats showing signs that they may be heading towards pushing for another government shutdown at the end of the month. I'll fill you on the latest there. We'll talk to Kristen Cornette and the former mayor of Ferguson, James Knowles, all coming up next here on Colombo Company.
JC's Wayback Machine.
A hilarious interview with Adam Sandler on this week's A-List interview. Glenn Fry passed away 10 years ago. We'll have some great stuff from the archives and talk about the origin of Party Town. Mr. Howland's Opus came out 30 years ago this week. Richard Dreyfuss tells us a couple of backstories. And we'll get into some Sammy and Springfield coming to town this summer. Brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine.
Every Saturday night, 6 to 9.
On News Talk STL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here. When your car needs attention, trust who I trust. Benchmark Complete Auto in Valley Park. 25 years as a family-owned and operated company, Benchmark is your Napa Auto Care Center for nearly every maintenance and repair, using the latest technology and top-quality parts. Need help with the bill? Well, ask about Napa's Easy Pay financing. Mention Jamie Allman and News Talk STL and get 10% off. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado is vowing she will lead the country in her words, when the right time comes. She spoke today at the Heritage Foundation.
The only thing I want to assure the Venezuelan people is that Venezuela is going to be free, and that's going to be achieved with the support of the people of the United States and the President, Donald Trump of the United States. So I'm very grateful to be here. We're facing challenging times ahead.
And her comments come a day after she gave President Trump her Nobel Peace Prize medal, calling it a recognition of his commitment to Venezuela's freedom. Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Cornette says that immigration and customs enforcement agents continue to do their work in Minneapolis despite ongoing protests.
Our ICE agents are following the law and running their operations according to training. Last night what we saw was 3 individuals weaponize shovels and brooms and attack an ICE officer that had to defend himself.
President Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy troops to quell persistent demonstrations against ICE officers in Minneapolis. Flu cases in this country are down, but another surge could be on the way.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention posted the latest data showing a big drop in flu hospitalizations and a smaller but significant decrease in medical office visits due to flu-like illness. The number of states reporting high flu activity also fell from 44 to 36. But that doesn't mean the season is over, especially for the flu. CDC officials say that second surges in flu activity often happen after the winter holidays. So far this season, there have been at least 18 million flu illnesses and 230,000 hospitalizations. I'm Haya Panjwani.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement? It can when you take control of your financial future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD now to get your free gold and silver rollover kit, a $49 value just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-4653 now. That's 800-741.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Not as cold today with a high in the mid-40s this afternoon, but late afternoon into the evening, another front is pushing through with an opportunity for some snow showers and maybe even some moderate snowfall rates in the early evening hours. And then it's just about spot flurries overnight tonight and into tomorrow. It's definitely going to be colder tomorrow, highs in the 20s and single-digit wind chills. I'm First Alert KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News Commentary with Guy Benson, next.
Progressive Commercial presents Heroes That Keep Truckers Going. Today's hero, your favorite sassy diner server. Sure, her eyes might say, I don't have all day. But deep down, you know that extra pancake on your plate says, I dislike you less than most people. Thanks, hero. What else can keep truckers going? Progressive truck insurance with primary liability limits up to $2 million. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to terms and limits.
Here's Guy Benson.
There are witnesses and evidence showing that she and her wife were part of this group stalking and following and harassing and obstructing federal law enforcement throughout that day. Now, you can say that shouldn't result in her death. I agree. That's not a capital offense. Neither, in fact, is her trying to flee the scene, which is what I think she was trying to do. I don't know if she was trying to hit the officer. She did. Not a minor little asterisk footnote there. That's a big one. I'm not sure if she intended to hit him, but she did, which goes to his mindset and the legal question about whether he was justified in pulling the trigger. But if she was merely, quote unquote, fleeing the scene, that is, once again, yet another crime.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
The president has made his priority quite clear.
Iran says it's ready for dialogue.
Why don't we lower the temperature? Some of these individuals do come from out of state. Are they being paid?
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Your lipstick stains on the front lobe of my left side brains. I knew I wouldn't forget.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio. The former mayor of Ferguson, city manager of Troy, Missouri, Mayor James Knowles is going to join us here in about 15 minutes. About 10 minutes from now, we're going to get the weekend forecast from Channel 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornette. And in studio with us right now is producer Emily, who's filling in for Joey a little bit later on this afternoon on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. But
Yeah,
I saw you in the building, so I thought, well, let's talk to Emily for a few minutes. So it's great to see you.
I love to talk, so it's great.
Well, and there's so much to talk about. I want to start with this real quick because I mentioned this a moment ago. Democrats in the House of Representatives are claiming victory from their 43-day government shutdown in October, which is crazy because largely that was looked at as a very negative outcome for the Democrats. They did not look good after forcing a government shutdown, and it was not a win. Well, now they're trying to rewrite history and claim it is a win because they've been able to continue the debate about Obamacare subsidies. And just because that conversation is still happening doesn't mean that they've won anything, and certainly doesn't change the way people felt after that.
No, they have the right to their opinion, but they have the right to be wrong. You know what I mean?
But here's where I think this is important because we are less than, or right at, I guess, 2 weeks away from the end of January, which was the agreement for that government shutdown that feels like it just ended. The deal that they made now expires in 2 weeks, so here we go again. And everybody thought, well, there's no way we're going to have another government shutdown because the Democrats failed. They looked stupid, so they're not going to do this again. I think they are trying to rewrite history because they are going to do this again. They're trying to convince us and maybe themselves that it was a good thing last time to give them the motivation to do it again. And this time it has to do with ICE. They're saying, I did a report yesterday, Ilhan Omar and a bunch of Democrats came out and said that there's not going to be any budget bills or, keeping the government open unless there's reform to DHS and ICE.
No.
And Republicans aren't going to do that.
Omar is ridiculous. I saw her doing an interview with a person in the Capitol, just trying to catch an interview with her really quick. And she's just she deflects so easily and gaslights. And she's everything that they say Republicans are is exactly what Omar is. It's crazy watching her. And I can't believe that we've elevated her to this point to where she's, one of the big ones on the squad. It's like, I don't understand why she's even qualified to be there.
And thriving.
Yeah, no, doing so well. And I hate to see that that's the future of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. I mean, that in Minnesota, just that. I mean, if you just look across the board, Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, Jared Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, Ilhan Omar.
I mean, that should
It's
be
wild.
enough alone with Minnesota in the state of
It's
things
as
right
bad
now.
as California and New York, if you ask me.
Maybe all of these people that we've elevated to be our political leaders in this one area, maybe that's why it's not doing well. And then it's the politicians' fault, I honestly think, at this point.
I always anoint you as the official spokesperson for Gen Z. So, with that in mind, is the younger generation? Do you, from at least your standpoint, when it comes to what's been happening in Minneapolis and these violent protests against ICE and people attacking law enforcement officers, is that an issue that largely the younger generation is still on the side of the illegal immigrants, or is some of that, is it more complicated than that and a little more divided?
But I do think it is divided. I was talking to a friend who has a professor that she said, it's a freshman level class, by the way, that they're talking, it's Comp 2, and they're talking about immigration, which I'm like, why in your Comp 2 class? And everybody in the room, she was saying, like, she's a little nervous to write her essay when they do peer reviews because everybody else in the room is like, why is ICE so violent? Why is ICE so bad? And the professor's just feeding into the narrative. And now we have a student, I'm like, you should write that essay and write it really good. And no matter what happens, more power to you, because it's unfortunate that I think it's almost groupthink, because if one person in your college class is saying this out loud, then everybody starts hopping on, yes, ICE is so bad, and nobody really knows what the purpose of their mission is in the first place.
Exactly.
Which, if you're a legal person, you have no reason to be afraid of ICE.
And nobody mentions the part that ICE is being attacked first in many of these
instigating
situations.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
It's horrible. But now there's people at college campuses asking, what is Lindenwood going to do if there were ICE here? And I'm like, well, if you are enrolled in Lindenwood currently, you do have a you have a visa or a green card or some reason why you're here. Otherwise, you would not be able to be enrolled. So no fear.
If you are at Lindenwood or anywhere else in the United States legally, there's nothing to worry about.
And they all point back to
Nothing
that
to worry
one
about, nothing to
incident.
talk about.
One incident of somebody who was legal mistakenly, right? And it's just like, okay, that was one time, and I do understand that that's a horrible thing that happened. But at the same time, there's a couple casualties, and then we do what we can as a country to right it. Right?
Absolutely. We only have a couple minutes left here before Kristen Cornette calls with the weekend forecast, but I wanted to ask you, another big issue that was in the news this week was biological men and boys playing in girls' and women's sports in high schools and colleges across the country. It was part of the Supreme Court. There was a hearing in Congress about it as well. Is that issue, that hits a little closer to home for the younger generation, student athletes and things like that. It seems like the country in general has really turned around and has come to the idea of, to protect women and women's sports and women's safety, that we shouldn't have boys playing women's sports. But there's still plenty on the other side, but I think it's more lopsided in the past.
I definitely feel more comfortable saying that position out loud than I might have in years past, because I've had people argue, well, if you do know hormones enough, then it's basically even, and all these arguments. And I'm like, I really don't care what you do. It just, when it starts impacting me or my kids or my friends, like that's when I start caring. So this is something that I think should just be so cut and dry. But in conversations that I've had, it seems like it's becoming less of a radical opinion to believe that men shouldn't be able to compete in women's sports. So things are looking up, maybe.
Off the air, we were talking about this, and you mentioned that there was a moment in that Senate hearing earlier this week where Missouri Senator Josh Hawley asked the
OBGYN.
the person, the OBGYN there, to just define a woman.
And not even, it was a different version of that question.
They just jumped through it.
It was an even easier answer for her too. He really set it up like there could.
It was.
Can a man get pregnant?
Right. Can a
biological man get pregnant? Was the question.
And they just can't.
And it's just like, that's such an easy response. And she was like, I just feel like this question is trying to, load the argument. And it's like, no, just answer the question. It's the truth. It's just, we're just supposed to get to the bottom of the truth, which good on Josh Hawley for that, because that was really impressive that he could set her up for just the honest answer, and she still couldn't even get it when it was just one word. She's like, I think one-worded questions or one-worded responses are too complicated and blah, 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 blah. It's like, just give an answer.
Yeah. And I think that ridiculousness has been on such public display that the overall thought process on that issue has come to be that it's not a transgender rights issue. I'll defend every right for every LGBTQ, every person in the country. It's not your right as a boy to play women's sports. It's not a rights issue. It's a safety issue.
Yeah, there's like needs and there's wants, and that is not a need. You know what I mean? It's just not fair.
Absolutely. That is Emily Worthmore, producer Emily, who will be with Tim and Chris later this afternoon, filling in for Joey V this afternoon. Thanks for popping in and joining us for a second.
Thanks for having me.
Great
Always
to see
fun.
you. Yeah, we'll be tuned in this afternoon as well. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to talk to the former mayor of Ferguson, James Knowles, in just a few moments. But first, it is time to get the weekend forecast, the all-important, especially this time of year, weekend forecast. And here to help us with that is Channel 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornette. Kristen, as always, thanks for your time. And I mentioned a little earlier as I was talking about, you coming on, I said, I haven't paid close enough attention. You could come on here and say that it's going to be 70 degrees tomorrow or -10. And I think I'd believe either one because we've been on such a roller coaster lately. So thanks as always for your time.
Funny story. I've been out of town and I was off for like the last 10 days. So right when I walked in the door today, everybody started asking me too. And I was like, I know nothing. Check back with me in a few hours. So I'm having to figure it all out today myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a day-to-day. It's been really a day-to-day situation anyway the whole time that you've been gone. So thanks as always for your time. And walk us through the next few days and what we can expect.
So it's actually kind of this is one of those more active forecasts. So pay attention. This one's important, right?
I'm going to write it down.
So if you're going to be out and about this evening, I mean, this could really affect you. So here's the deal. We have an Arctic cold front coming through later tonight, and it's bringing some precipitation with it. It's obviously bringing much colder air. It's an Arctic cold front, right? So we're going to start off with just some spotty light rain. We're already seeing that northwest of St. Louis, so that comes in first. And then later this evening, maybe some snowflakes start to mix with that light rain. And then a little bit later this evening, it changes over to all snow. Now, look, this is not a widespread heavy snow event. It's not a first alert weather day. There are no winter weather advisories. It's going to be a scattered snow, mainly light. Some of you won't get any. But there's this potential that there could be some more moderate snow bands within that scattered snow. And where we get those, we could get some slick spots. We'll see reduced visibility. So this is something to keep in mind if you're going to be out traveling tonight. As far as any accumulation go, from 0 to maybe half an inch on the high side. So not really high, but again, if you're out driving in it and it starts coming down, a little bit heavier, you could find yourself in a little bit of a challenging situation.
Especially if there's rain first and then that rain freezes, like that could, as the night goes on.
Well, I think the pavement is actually probably above freezing.
Oh, good.
But I think if it just comes down heavier like that, it would maybe overcome that. So that might get us into some trouble. And also the visibility issue. So let's just keep that in mind for a little bit later on this evening. At this point, even the rain showers haven't even gotten here. But I would think, maybe starting around 7, 8, 9 o'clock in that area, we're kind of starting to change over. We're already all snow. So overnight, that tapers down to just flurries, but it will drop to 20 degrees overnight. And then on Saturday, it's going to be breezy, wind gust to 25 miles per hour, partly to mostly cloudy skies. We could get some flurries in the afternoon, just flurries, no big deal, but the high is only going to be 26. So it's going to be a really cold, raw day. Saturday night, we drop down to 11. Oof. And then Sunday is mostly sunny. It's dry. The winds aren't as strong. There's a little bit of a breeze, like 8 miles per hour, but it's a cold day with the high of only 34. So we're kind of a little all over the place here, but kind of cold, snow, lots to talk about in this forecast.
Yeah, we were when Steve was on with us last week. I mentioned that I feel like we're just bracing for the cold because we had gotten away with so many mild days, and I think people forget there's a long way to go in this winter, this St. Louis winter. Yeah, and the cold is going to get us eventually, certainly.
Well, let me just mention Monday and Tuesday morning, lows are like 12, 13 degrees. Monday afternoon's only 23. So we do start to warm up toward the middle of the week. And I will just go ahead and mention that it's just a watcher right now. I can't give you much more than that. But late next week into next weekend, The computer models are trying to pick up on a winter system, some rain, some snow, some mix. I don't know at this point, but I'm just telling you, we're keeping an eye on that time frame. So definitely keep an eye with us, okay? We'll keep you posted.
Absolutely. And I can't recommend, keeping up with everything that the Channel 4 weather team is working on, either through the website or the Channel 4 weather app is just fantastic. I can't tell you how often I rely on that, especially when there's actual, in a severe weather situation. The app is just fantastic for forecasts and just to stay completely up to speed on what's happening with the weather. So make sure you check that out. And at the end of the day, in the middle of January, a Sunday that's sunny and 34 degrees. That's not that. I'll take it, right? I mean, it's not it's not what we've seen recently, but it could certainly be worse in St. Louis. So there's some things to keep an eye out this evening, especially for. So make sure you're aware of that. But all in all, not the worst it could be in the middle of January in St. Louis. Kristen Cornette, thank you so much for the information. Keeping us informed on what's happening out there, and have a great weekend yourself, my friend. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Back at you. Thank you. All right. We still got a little bit more to go here before we wrap things up and hand it off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. We're going to have some Friday fun time and dive back into some of the news and headlines when we are joined by the former mayor of Ferguson, the city manager of Troy, Missouri. James Knowles joins us next.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. News, analysis, opinion.
They're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
One of the most frightening calls for law enforcement, officer down, officer needs help. Everything is dropped to get to that officer, that brother or sister in uniform, but not in Minneapolis, at least if they are an ICE officer. Democrats have ordered local and state law enforcement, don't do anything to help the ICE agents if they're under attack. And keep in mind, recently they released something like 470 criminals from jail. These would be rapists, bandits, child molesters, and other violent, illegal aliens. And they're not going to be doing anything to help ICE agents if they're under attack. So the officer calls for help, waits, no one comes. There is an Insurrection Act of 1807. The Insurrection Act is a U.S. federal law that allows the president to nationally deploy the U.S. military, to federalize the National Guard units. We are at a point now in Minneapolis, if that's their attitude in protecting law enforcement on the ground, it's time for the president to enact the Insurrection Act of 1807.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. And NapoliSTL.com. NapoliSTL.com.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his handpicked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story, a Russian sub with nuclear missiles is lost at sea.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Few more important news items I want to get to before we wrap up the week and get you ready for the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show and hopefully prepare you for your weekend. We will do some Friday fun time here in a few minutes. Always like to lighten things up and have some fun at the end of the week, so we will do that. And we will do it all with our next guest, the former mayor of Ferguson, the city administrator of Troy, Missouri. James Knowles is back with us. Always great to talk with you, Mayor Knowles. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tony. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, so let's start with some local stuff here. It's the first time that we've had a chance to talk in the new year, so Happy New Year, my friend, first of all.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
And we also have kicked off the 2026 legislative session in Jeff City, and we've been monitoring that. We were down there on opening day a couple weeks ago with both the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show and Tim Jones and Chris Arps live in Jeff City that day, and we've been checking in with various lawmakers since then, and we'll continue to do so throughout the entire session. But I know that, at the municipal level and city level across the state of Missouri, while you don't have you're not part of that, I know that there is very often pressure from cities or requests or issues that cities across the state will, ask the lawmakers to address going into or during a legislative session. As far as, obviously your focus is Troy, but, you've served throughout the St. Louis metro area and know a lot about, the entire region here. Is there any focus that you're either hearing from citizens or you yourself that you think should be a focus for those lawmakers in Jeff City this year? An issue that's been maybe a problem for a while that needs to be addressed for the citizens.
Sure. Well, actually, I'm the former president of the St. Louis Municipal League, so I've always been very active in advocating on behalf of cities, and I sit on the state's Municipal League policy committee. So, yeah, that's right what I get
right up your alley. Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is, on an annual basis, most cities are just happy with the state not changing the way we do things because, it constantly happens where there's either tax policy changes or something else, which, then creates a situation where either we have to change our processes in local government or there's sometimes unintended consequences as far as how we collect revenue or how we operate. I mean, just a couple years ago, the state legislature thought it was a grand idea to lessen the amount of time that people have to sign up for municipal office. And so it used to be January, I think it was like the 27th think was the final date to register for April elections. And then they moved it to the last day of December, which, a lot of cities are closed on New Year's Eve. So now every city clerk in the state has to work on New Year's Eve because the state didn't think maybe they wouldn't even be open. But under state law, we're required to be open so people can register for office. So things like that happen all the time. That actually is one of the things we're asking to change. It's a pretty small change. Probably the biggest thing that we're always concerned about is the effort to change the taxation when it comes to sales tax. Things like the ideas that people keep throwing out about limiting sales tax on groceries. Sounds great, but if you're a town that, has one grocery store in town and that's most of your sales tax, it sounds like a great idea to, not make people pay sales tax on groceries, but then that town's going to go bankrupt. And there's a lot of towns like that across the state, that the most of their money comes from something like that. So these are things we're always having conversations with our legislators on. They're sitting at the Capitol. Sometimes it's hard to understand what they're going to do affects us on the ground level. But most of the time, we're just happy if they don't change.
Yeah, right. It's almost never a bad thing if there's just nothing happening. Like,
right.
Sometimes action can be good, but it's almost always good when it's just nothing happening. Which we kind of learned that in the last government shutdown. Which might be coming our way again here. Yeah.
We found out the world didn't end, so maybe government just stay out of our way.
I think we're heading down that path again. I didn't actually. I have a couple more questions about the local stuff, but I did want to touch on that because it's been an issue this week that I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by. But if you're paying attention, the Democrats are starting to send signals that they're ready to do this again, which is shocking to me because, in my opinion, and I think this is a pretty general consensus that the last government shutdown was not a good look for the Democrats. They did not come off as the heroes or score the big political win that I think that they thought they were going to when they initiated the government shutdown and then it drug on for so long, 43 days or whatever it was, well over a month. But if you paid attention this week, I just did a story about how some Democrats are trying to rewrite history and claim that that the last government shutdown was a win for them because they have forced a vote on the Obamacare subsidies that were at the center of all of the problems in the last one. But that's not really a big win. Those subsidies have been phased out, at least currently. There's a push to try to get them back, but there's almost no way that that's going to happen. They need, the majority they need to win in the House and they need to win in the Republican Senate to try to get that back, which I can't imagine that happening. But they're framing it as, hey, we won because we're still, because this issue is still alive and that's what we wanted. So, which is weird to me. And then yesterday, Ilhan Omar and some other Democrats came out and said that they would not sign any bill regarding the budget or keeping the government open that didn't address ICE or DHS reforms. And Republicans aren't going to go along with that. So it seems to me that they're signaling that here we go again, which is baffling to me that the Democrats would think that that's a winning proposition for them. What do you think?
Well, I think in the end, they're so fractured with so many different, splinter groups within the Democratic Party that it's going to be hard for them, even as the opposition, to unite. Other than saying, Trump bad, it's hard for them to get around a real policy that they're going to dig their heels on as the flagship sort of thing that they're going to rally around. And so I don't think this is going to work for them. I think ultimately, again, they're shifting if they're shifting, it's because they know, or at least a portion of them know, that they didn't get what they wanted out of the first fight over the Obamacare subsidies. Now that that's going away or phasing out and the world didn't end, right. Now they've got to find something else. They've got to find a new straw man to beat at. And I think that's what they're doing here. There's going to be some people who are going to be still stuck on the Obamacare subsidies, but and realistically, I think they're just trying to throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And right now, the hot topic is there's some people upset about the unrest in Minneapolis. So let's try to feed into that. That's I'm sure what their plan is.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. They have been. That was the clear message sent this week that they're going to say, unless the budget bills address ICE reform or DHS reform, then we're not going to sign it. So we could be heading down that road again. And then the double frustrating thing is, James, is that you and I both know that even if that doesn't happen, even if we don't have another government shutdown or it doesn't come right down to the wire and it's this big dramatic thing again, the resolution is just going to be another continuing resolution. It's just going to be another CR, and we're going to be doing this again, having this conversation again in just a matter of months down the line. I mean, it never ends.
And that's really the heartbreaking thing for our country, because we have real financial problems. They keep kicking the can down the road. At some point, even Republicans, we have to not only talk about this financial crisis that the nation really is, this fiscal crisis, but we got to stick to our guns on it. And I will say shame on some of the Republicans too for they say that, but then they don't stick to it. And then they get stuck in this kind of populist rhetoric, because it's not popular to say, hey, we're going to either raise taxes, which would cause problems, or cut items from people that people want. But at some point, this train's going to come to a screeching halt when our debt is far beyond what our GDP can handle. And I was in this 7th grade, 8th grade. It was 8th grade. My hero was Ross Perot, man.
Oh,
back in the day.
he's the first person I ever voted for.
Yeah.
I've been a third-party weirdo forever.
I was in the 8th grade and I was jazzed up. I mean, I was a young Republican going back to like the 4th grade, but then all of a sudden I was like, this guy is what I'm talking about. And, I just think, he brought to light something that, he foresaw this a long time ago. And the cliff never came yet, but I mean, we're getting there, and it's a scary thing to think about, because you and I are still fairly young enough.
Yeah, we are.
Maybe see over that cliff. Yeah, young enough to see over that cliff. And then our kids too, which are very young. So, we've got to figure this out. And at some point, they're all going to have to suck it up. And I just don't know that. How many years now? I mean, we're going to years and years of CRs, right? We're not,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Years
and years.
We haven't had
Yeah.
a budget in like a decade. I think it is now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I turned 18 in 1996, just in time to vote in that election, and the very first vote I ever cast was for Ross Perot. So when you hear me talking about, Libertarian Party or needing a third or fourth party, just know that it's that I've been that way since the very, very beginning. Talking to former mayor of Ferguson, the city administrator of Troy, James Knowles, is on the line with us. Here's something dumb. Did you know that today is National Nothing Day? I mean, I know we got a lot of national days of everything, but this one's really pushing it. National Nothing Day. It's been National Nothing Day. Today's on the 16th of January since 1973. So go celebrate.
That's I guess. I mean, I didn't know that we had a group of nihilists.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be doing anything today. Yeah, you're going against the whole idea of the holiday if you're even doing anything today. I thought this was another fun little internet thing out today. There was a survey done asking what are the fakest cities in the world. So basically what that means is like the way a city, the reputation it has on the international stage for either being, having like great tourist attractions or, whatever it is. Like this has a reputation for being something, but the reality is that's not it. There was a survey done of travelers, it says, that asked for the least authentic or fakest cities in the world, and number one was Chicago, Illinois. Congratulations.
Oh my God! I
Congrats.
was literally going to say.
Oh, I
that.
should have had you guess. I should have made you guess.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, it's hilarious because I've been there several times, and I used to have to go there for work sometimes. But oh my God, I'm sitting there as you're talking, and I'm pondering, and like, who would be the fakest? I said, don't let me tell you, I've been to a lot of cities all across the world, and you go to Chicago, and you're like, okay, where's the cool stuff? I mean, Ferris Bueller made it seem like it was the coolest place in town, but I wouldn't want to go hang around Chicago very long. So go to Wrigley, you go to Wrigley, you go to Navy Pier, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge area, and I mean, it's nothing sexy that I really see about it. So
not number one not number one fakest city in the United States, in the world. Congratulations, JB Pritzker and Chicago. Just in case you're curious,
they deserve it.
we actually, United States actually makes up, 1, 2, 3 of the top 5 cities in the world. Number 1 is Chicago. Number 2 is Venice, Italy. Number 3 is Vegas. Number 4 is Nashville. And number 5 is Hobart, Australia. So there you go. The most. So if you're thinking about going to any of those locations, you might want to do a little more research to make sure you're going to the right place. There's a new term. See if you can guess this one. Choppelganger. Like chop, C-H-O-P, chop. And then, like a doppelganger, somebody that looks like you. What is the new internet term? What's the definition of choppelganger, do you think, James?
Choppelganger. Lord, mate. This is where I wish I had my, 5th grade son.
Right? No kidding.
It's like, I mean, of all the terms that come flying around my house with my kids on a daily basis, I'm like,
yeah.
That's not one of them.
It's, you want me to tell you?
Got me stumped. Yeah.
It's kind of similar to doppelganger, but it's somebody that looks like you but is uglier. So if somebody sees like
that's a great word. I mean, I know.
Start using it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times
I saw your choppelganger today.
Yeah, well, I mean, even famous people. I mean, you've got to go around town and see somebody like you kind of see them at a distance or out of the corner of your eye, and you're like, oh, dang, like that's a famous actor.
That kind of looks like so and so if they had a really bad day,
and then you get a square-on look at them, and you're like, oh my God, like
well,
that's not them at all. Like
there you go. You can start
like
using
George
it now.
Got hit with a bat in the face.
You can start using it now, and you'll look like you're really,
Choppelganger.
yeah, choppelganger.
That's going to be the new That's going to be the new office word here.
There you go.
We're going to use that.
I love it. Great stuff. James Knowles, the former mayor of Ferguson, city administrator up there in Troy. Great to talk with you. Looking forward to lots more great conversations throughout the new year. And hope you have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
You too. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you bet. Good stuff there from James Knowles. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back on Monday at 2. Keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment